Greetings. I couldn't postpone what came to my mind. A couple different things, but one of them is writing, literally writing down, and it's like the Hebrew, the Father's word in Hebrew, Genesis, Malachi, the Law, Prophets, Psalm, His word. I mean, from what I know, as far as like writing or like reading the Hebrew is right to left. But what is that? The question that comes to mind then is the Father that backwards, or is the world backwards? What does this bring out that he showed me just now? It specifically brings out something in a stronger way to me, because that's what I see stronger. From this right to left, it brings out what people think they know and what they already believe in their heart and think apart from him. It brings that out to me. It's shown me that all by itself, writing from right to left. And then when it's questioned or someone looks at that, what is that? It brings out that man in his heart believes for real, thinks for real, that good is evil and evil is good, and the Father's evil. Not belief in him, not belief in his word, truth, not belief in any actual true good and good works, but condemning it as backwards and stupid. Are they sure that's not talking about itself? Are they so sure that someone that says this is stupid, some truth from the Father and his word, are they sure they're not backwards and stupid? Because no one can do that to the Father with their heart in reality and not be exactly the evil that they're claiming that he is and his people are. It's dumping what someone is, backwards, wicked, backwards, stupid, onto someone else, but onto his word, onto his people, but already belief of that for the Father, and enmity and hatred towards good and the Father and all good and Messiah and all his people. And it's amazing to me what I just saw. Like, man, it makes my heart like speed up a little, because it just boom, just out of the blue, the Father gives again something that I'm, out of his word, seeing with writing from right to left, not thinking about it, not doing anything. He just gives. Then that's on the mind. Then I have like a question if I see something like right to left. There's like, okay, that's a given, and then you have a question in your own mind quickly, and then it's answered. And then maybe another question to bring out something else, like what scripture, what about connections, what else, what can I use as witnesses to see it better, to see it more? And then it's answered again, also quickly when he does it. And something is given, a little something here, a little there, a little. And that's what it brought out amazing to me. Right to left that's what man will think right away. That's what his works are, instantly judging it as evil, stupid, and backwards, because it's evil, stupid, and backwards. And speaking of the Father's truth and good and everything good, accusing his good truth and whatever is good as evil, as backwards and stupid, which makes him look wise when this evil work is done, makes him look wise and rise to make something out. The only way to rise through pride and evil is to throw down someone else and trash them, to lower someone in the devil's kingdoms, is how you rise in this world of it. Can't rise any other way. It's so then it's got to be done in the heart to rise in this world, put some other person down, if it's through pride, then that's like the only way to rise the evil ways in these kingdoms, is throwing someone else down. But writing from right to left, it's like an instant. What came to mind is like exactly that. Like, is it backwards? Is that what is that? Is that stupid? So then some other thoughts about that came is in contrast to writing from left to right, and this is nothing to do with telling someone to now write from right to left right now. Not right now. It's not happening right now by me saying that this is what people need to do now. But it's just showing that it's either the world that's backwards or the world's backwards. So the Father's like backwards to the world, but the world's backwards to the Father and foolish to him. He made the wisdom of this world foolishness. That means it's actually foolish. The very wisdom of this world is foolishness in reality to the Father. He made it to be so. So, pretty dumb to love the world and all the things in it. So then it's like not to do something because it's dumb only like that. But, we read that if something's true, everything else will flow with it and be connected. Everything that's true, if it's true, it will be connected in one. There'll be a connection and not contradict each other, the teachings. Messiah's teaching to not love the world or any of the things in it, and to seek it with the heart, money and possessions in the world and everything. And that somebody does seek it with their heart. That's connected to other, it's connected to all his word. Whether it's more directly or a sort of further away, it's still going to be a connection with everything. And I wanted to connect what I just said there with the other thing I said first, but I'm trying to remember it right now. Yeah, I am a little tired, so it's a little slower right now. From right to left. Well, I kind of lost my part of my thought. So then that's the point for one of the things, that it looks bad, looks stupid. And it's like perfectly backwards. But then going the other direction, left to right, and maybe you could go a little faster, but why? Because if you go like too fast without care from right to left, it's like you could just smudge it as you write with the hand, smearing the words. But like what's normal in the world, and anyone that's right-handed now in this example, but going from left to right is the point. You don't have to worry about smearing the words, do we? That's another thing that's just blowing my mind. The hand is in front of the words that are being written down at all times when you go from left to right. Speaking of literally writing now, the hand, let's see if we give a picture. There's the tip. And as you write, your whole hand, is the back here is the front, and the front's going like this, and it's always in front of the pencil or whatever you're writing, in front of the words that are written down, hands in front at all times. And you don't have to worry about really smearing, you just go like that, obviously picturing that. And so then You could go faster than the other direction because there's not like a worry at all to smear the words. Faster won't hurt anything. Doing something out of corrupt intentions, let's go faster. Let me just do things quicker, hastily. When we read, don't act hastily. It won't matter doing it like that. There's no smearing like that. There's no consequence. But that's understanding the darkness. Even though it's backwards, but in someone's mind, it doesn't matter. You go faster and sloppy as quick as you can. They don't care. It doesn't do anything for someone. It's not, sin in the heart. It's for doing corrupt things like to go fast and sloppy with writing. But if you go from right to left and go fast and you're kind of just dragging and sloppy, it takes work, and you can't go as fast. If you do, it'll get you'll smear it or get sloppy, so you have to hold your hand maybe more consistently in a different way and go slower and steady. And the words being written down are at the head. I guess that's really the right phrase, at the front. It's leading right with the front of the hand. The words are being written down, and the hand is at the head, and then there's the tail trailing the words, which are at the head. When you go this way, left to right, like the world normal thing, normal in the world, this is the head, and the word is the tail. And no worries about smearing it, because you're not living the words. You're not following the Father's words, not, you as an unbelieving darkness, wicked, blind. It doesn't matter if you go crazy, because the word's not at the head anyways. In someone's corrupt heart, it doesn't matter. And it's like shown. It blew my mind. And it works going this way or that way. There's a difference, a huge difference. It's 180. That's the difference. As far as the east is from the west, one direction or the other. So slow, steady, not acting hastily, consistent, being careful, and the hand, which is connected to man, the body, or remember, the word is right at the head, leading the hand, like right with the front of the hand. And you do the works of the word, which is at the head. And the rest of your hand follows the words. And your hand goes across, like you write a letter here, but as you go, your whole hand is now moving past that letter. And it keeps working like that, as if you were to keep going writing. So then not only is it at the head, his word, and the hand is at the head, it's following the word now, because it's at the head. Who's the head of man? Messiah. Who's the head of Messiah? The Father. So to be at the head is to be, one in control in this way, a leader, like to bring it out, but Messiah, the master, leading and guiding his people. He's the head, and the head is always at the front, which means it moves everything else behind it. And therefore, writing right to left in the Hebrew, like as that is exactly that, is the head of his word. And our hand passes through the letters and follows whatever the letters mean, which is at the head. We don't create our own thing, which is this way, which is what was I saying? Left to right, right to left. Oh, I confuse myself. I am, I'm a little slower right now. I used my left hand in order for all this to be obviously consistent and perfect. For a comparison, you have to use the same hand. I'm like, wait a second, am I that blind? But that's my left hand. You still have to do everything with the right hand. If you go from right to left, from left to right, the head, wherever the direction is going, this is the head because that's the direction it's going. But to mankind, this is the head. The literally backwards thing is the head, and he sees no difference. You could say this is the head, but this is to man in his own mind. That's literally the head. But it's in reality, that's a delusion, going backwards, because this is the head. But says who? Someone could just say, no, this is the head. It's relative. It doesn't matter. It's relative. So if you go this way, this is the head. That's what they can claim. That's what the heart is claiming and doing. The crooked heart, mankind, all. And so then when you write from right to left, the word is at the tail in reality. And man's hand is at the head with nothing at the head to guide it. There's no word to guide it. He creates his own thing. Where's the word? Nothingness, nothingness. How much of the word passes through the hand? So imagine the middle of the screen now. The middle of the screen is a marker. Now there's some word right there. Or not his word, but imagine it being there, but in reality now, see, it's not. The hand's not passing through any word. And spiritually speaking, living his word, there is no word in them moving, controlling in this way as Messiah, our head, to do the Father's will, to follow him. We don't follow our own hand in invisible worthlessness. Therefore, none of the word is passing through the whole entire hand, and it's at the tail, left behind for the dead. It's just stunning how much there is just from this one thing that he's just given me now. And I don't, the way it's been always is that more, like so often, just showing more deeper later. But that's what I see right now, something about this. And it's stunning to me. Like, when it happens, when the Father just gives, I'm going in my own heart. Whoa. Is that what that is? Wow. But that's going to look stupid once again to an unbeliever in darkness because they just see a hand moving and you're just saying some words that they think they understand, and and you're like stupid and blind because you're just saying some stupid words. That's how it is in the mind. And when the Father gives, it's amazing, it's powerful, and it's always connected to drop this thing, doing good. It's always connected to good works. And the word needs to become one. It can't be divided or like separated from living his word. We need to eat his word, like we read, eat the book, eat his word. But Messiah being the word in that, the perfect example of the new creation in Messiah, of living the Father's words. So yes, he can be called. He is called then. We read word, which has nothing to do with what religion says that means. Some carnal Trinity monster beast mutation with no reality or value or no effect. But instead, Messiah being the word is, he lived it in a way no one ever did before because it wasn't available in the old covenant. And until Messiah's death and resurrection and the Spirit being poured out with power in this way, like we read was happening there, the beginnings of it. So then that's how he's the Father's Word. We're supposed to become the Father's Word. How on earth is that blasphemy to mankind? Blasphemy. What do they believe in their heart? That nobody's supposed to follow Messiah, which is to listen to him, obey, become like him, more and more growing in Messiah. Doing that's the Father's will, all things through Messiah. To see him is to see the Father. And without Messiah, the Father's not seen. Without the Father, Messiah is not seen. Cannot be. All or nothing. As an understanding with so much of his word, with everything. Am I missing something? Because like it just, when something's amazing to me, it like makes me want to keep repeating it, because it's like not seen in the world, not seen by even self. And then understanding comes, and then more comes, and then right now, understanding came about this, something about this, and more comes, more understanding. And we read that phrase head and tail, never making anything. We read head and tail, and his people are supposed to be the head of the nations, which means they're at the front first, the example, leader, to help, to serve. It moves the other nations, but this never was fulfilled in this way because Israel was carnal. This is what the kingdom of heaven will do. The Father's very own righteousness and works in his people will be able to do that and be the actual spiritual head, just like man is the head of a woman, spiritual head. And Messiah is the head of man. Is it not that the woman sees the man, which sees Messiah, which sees the Father, and that's how the order is all one. There's problems when one of where is broken, there's problem, big problem. And because Messiah is the head of man, that means things, and its power, and it has meaning and order. Certain things work like the meaning that we need to be given. We have to believe and see Messiah and believe in him for real with the heart to see the Father. And maybe a woman needs to see a spiritual, just like man with Messiah as the head, same. But now man, woman, Messiah, the Father. It's going to sound evil. There's going to be things that are implied automatically by the world and unbelievers. There's going to be things added and implied that we're saying that's not happening. So who's really backwards then? World or the Father? And with this example, writing his words, letters, what the word means gets inside of us. So therefore, that's how the word is working. Follow the Lamb. He's at the head. Submit to the Lamb, who submits to the Father. Follow, submit to Messiah, our true teacher, and the Father. And this is, that's through the true, real faith, a gift that we need to always ask for. As we do read, ask for his Spirit to more abundantly give it, ask for more. Messiah's teaching to ask. And he says, will he not abundantly give for those that ask? It's pretty amazing. Talking about Father actually answering when we ask from the heart. But now something crooked can't be done, where if he doesn't give an understanding in one day, someone creates their own rules. If he doesn't do it in one day, boom, you're a liar. The Father doesn't do anything. No one hears him. He never gives understanding because you didn't do it on my criteria, which is one day. That's created by man and made up altogether by unbeliever. And it's made up so that it can be thrown down. Because when someone makes something up for a teaching, it's done with the intention to throw down something. They make sure the criteria will be long enough or short enough or whatever the detail is. Not only is something being created out of nothing from man as the creator, it's created to fail on purpose. After God, man, creates his own thing, then the condition meets it because he made sure it would. Then he says to the other person, you're a liar and deceiver. And you didn't meet this thing that's put on someone and made up. Therefore, boom, liar, wicked, throw the whole truth down. And that's just to attack someone else, to defend their lies. And already we're able to protect through doing that. It's amazing. And that's always being done by man. That's a God in someone's own mind. That's literally man believing he's the creator. In his heart, his works prove it. And the devil says, you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. You shall be perfect for sinning. That's what he's saying. You shall be perfect, knowing good and evil. That means to know good and evil. Would someone like to imply that it doesn't mean? Would someone like to imply that knowing good and evil means not knowing it at all, or 5% or 10%? When we read knowing good and evil, the serpent is saying, you shall know it, good and evil, period, all of it. How could it be 50%? It's all of it unless we read something very specifically that makes it clear that it's not literally all or something. That's just creating things out of thin air again. Who determines whether it's 50% now? Who determines whether it's 80% or 30%? That's scripture now. That's God works out of pride, creating its own thing out of pride, making it up. Who determines that 50% of that is true, the other 50 not, or some nonsense? Knowing good and evil means 5%, and someone says that's what the answer is. But 95% of the time, yeah. Where did they get that? How do you know how much? And another question, how do you know when it applies, that how much? How does someone know when that 95% applies, when and how? Then you have to create, because that's how lies work, again, do another lie. And you have to create your own thing on when it works also, in full control. In a delusion, though. In his own mind, he's in control, and a God. When he's in zero control, he's in a delusion, literally blind from everything. He knows nothing. Those of darkness never work in the day. They work at night. Their works can't be seen. The heart's works is to hide your work. So a robber robs at night. Picture the literal robbing. So that he's not seen, in hopes not to be seen. When daylight comes, the robber makes sure he blends in like a lizard with everyone else. Because if you robbed like out how you did at night in the daylight, in the open, people will see that. And that's going to look evil, and people will condemn that as unbelievers, condemning that because that looks evil. That's a bad guy, throw him to prison. He's robbing in the daylight. And that's how they protect it. That's how they protect themselves also, by doing this kind of thing. All the false evil way is in their own mind that proves that they're not that if they expose it. Just that simple. If you expose it, that means we're not that. So it's hiding them while exposing something that looks evil for an image. So when daylight comes, the false prophet makes sure he's hiding during the day like a creature in the night. Where is it hiding? Hides pretty good. When night comes, hunting, searching, eating, working, work. If you fly around, that's a work. Hunting, eating, working, flying around, whatever it is, creature. Now it's doing its works at night, looking for prey, food. Because another thing about the darkness is that everyone else in darkness is in darkness. They won't see it coming. In the daylight, you can see, like, you try to chase someone and take them down, you could see in the daylight coming. That's the point, is that it's daylight and you can see. So it's, way harder to get away with it, for an image to break for this world, because that's what the world will send people to prison for looking bad. And I'm not denying that's wicked sin, to like rob or something. Yeah, it is evil sin, but the carnal mind, it doesn't care what robbing is, doesn't know. It just looks bad, and it doesn't want to go to jail or look bad for robbing. But those that do are the evil people of the world to them, and they're not. And they go to prison because they broke the image of the beast. That just hit me too right now, something deeper on that. That is the devil's kingdom. So you have to worship the image. All that don't worship the image must be killed. We're just talking about spiritual things. Their life is going to be sought after to be killed, but we read killed all the day long. His people should be dead, but that just because they're alive, it doesn't mean that over there in Revelation is a lie. This is what happens for those that don't worship the devil and the image of the beast. They are out to kill them, to strip their life. But when we trust in him, he's the strength. He keeps our life, preserves us. And that makes it furious for those that see that they're still alive or see something about it. They were hoping and believing and thinking they know that that's going to destroy someone. And when it doesn't, they're in shock. It's a great fear, because what is that? How could it be that I can't do something? And so if someone also would hate in darkness that something for being exposed, because it's proving they're not the creator. It's proving they absolutely could not deceive someone and make them dead. That's spiritual works for proof that they cannot do whatever they want, and it's proof that they're not God, the creator. It's utter proof. And when a woman's told no, it's utter proof that she couldn't seduce the man. It proves that she's not the creator. She's not God in reality. And when you're not, out of insecurity and destruction, you have to do God works to continually try to prove you're God. And that's what the pride and carnality is, constantly needing to do spiritual works of darkness and evil from the heart that in their own mind is proving that they're God, that they can do whatever they want. It's the heart of everything. Free will is connected in a massive way with everything else, but the image of the beast, of course, also. Because that's the heart of rebellion, is doing whatever you want. So someone needs to stay in a delusion, so they continue to believe a lie that they can do whatever they want, and they can't actually not do something from the heart. Actual works, real things. There's nothing they can't do in the mind. We're not reading of images when we read in Genesis. Need to be given the understanding from above, from the Father, spiritual understanding, and it's always true. That's always true. That's man's work in the night. So then when it's daylight, that's when people should speak and do works. So Messiahs, they had a problem, obviously, with Messiah claiming he broke the Sabbath. We read it like this, where it just says he broke the Sabbath. That's what was in their mind. That's their accusation. Messiah answers. And it never sounds direct to the blind, but it's as direct as it can get. But just because they're false and liars doesn't change what we do. We're responding to what we actually see. That is the righteous thing, and not responding to what they say only and what they, for images only, to respond to that outward thing, carnal thing, the way they want you to respond. We don't do that. We'll just speak of the real thing like Messiah did, answering them perfectly. The only answer, anything else, talking about the image, is answering a delusion in a delusion. It's not real. Messiah wouldn't actually answer their question. He would do a sin. He would do an evil work by going along with the lie and saying that answers an actual question when it doesn't. Just because the Pharisees in this world doesn't understand how any of that works, doesn't make Messiah doing evil or not answering their questions. Someone else's zero understanding has nothing to do with what we do. This is already backwards from man's heart. We're supposed, you start cutting off self from comparing everything to. That's what that is. It doesn't change, it's not supposed to change what we do based on what someone else does. That's sin, and we need, obviously, it's a huge thing to continually learn and overcome. But the perfect thing and understanding is that you don't check and conform, constantly comparing, asking, questioning self with something else, always based on self-righteousness and selfish. But Messiah answers directly, perfectly, and says, the Father has been working up until now. And then he says, I've been working, right in their face. Not only did they not understand because they didn't get a delusional answer according to how they wanted it, which is you break the Sabbath. He said to their face, we work, while they're thinking of Sabbath and not knowing what it means at all and not keeping it in their heart at all. Messiah is replying, and it's fire, because he's answering through truth and love and care. He answered. Doesn't change the works that we have to do. If someone thinks we did evil, that needs to be cut off. What someone thinks of something else in darkness or condemns the truth, it doesn't matter. If we did the right thing in the moment, it doesn't matter what someone accuses or says. That's the perfect thing. That's what we need to become that, grow into this and be perfected in it, asking about it. But the carnal mind already works backwards. If you just sort of walk away after knowing you answered, and they start attacking and accusing you of not answering, ignoring, because they want you to do it their way, through their rules, through their throne, through their made up thing, which is at the tail. The hand is at the head. Man's hand is moving himself. That's the delusion. And the word is at the tail. He puts what he does with his works first, that he moves and believes, onto the word behind it. And it never passes through the hand left to right. And that all means things. I'm trying to bring it out the best I can with saying it. It's astonishing. That's who the Creator is to them, at the tail, some dung pile. Their golden calf is at the head. That's a delusion because it's not real, because the Creator's at the head, not the golden calf that man creates, the image of the beast gods they create in their heart. Putting doctrine onto the golden calf that it created as the Creator. And then the words at the tail are left behind and they do whatever they want with it. It's all conforming to self and its beliefs and opinions and traditions and doctrines, It's all made up in the heart, which is a delusion given, but in their mind, they're in control. They're doing this. This is what the works are of the devil. It's utter perfect rebellion that has nothing to do with believing and doing the Father's will and following Messiah. Zero. It's the exact opposite, but it's made to look good in this world as the good thing, when in reality it's perfect rebellion. It's utter perfect rebellion. The Father's things are not backwards, but it is backwards compared to the world, and the world's backwards compared to the Father. We will look upside down to the world because we start living the Father's truth and reality, which is already backwards from this world and the God of this world and how everything works in darkness. We'll look upside down when we start growing and living it more and growing. The more that we grow, the more upside down becomes apparent. It becomes easier and bigger to see to the world. But it was true when it sprouted. But to the world, how much it looks upside down, a young believer, is very, very small. But it can be said, and it is said, now as it grows, that those words was always true, but it's becoming more perfect. It's growing, and so then what the world will see is a clear thing that you're upside down. And the bigger and clearer it is to see, the more offensive, the more threat, the more exposing of themselves. The more the light grows and spreads, the more exposing. The easier it is to see the light. So the picture, I guess, from right to left, look at that. It's perfect. Isn't that mind-numbing? That's how backwards man is. There it is. Just with the Hebrew right to left, something about this understanding where it's already assumed, it's already believed that this is the backwards thing. Are they sure? Are we sure? Is everyone sure? That is seeking his will and counsel and truth and learning. And as long as someone's of him, seeking him to do his will, that is the good thing. That is doing his will. And then he will grow them and give them understanding in true doctrine, not from self. When you write left to right and do those works, that's not leaning on the Father. That's not keeping, lean not on your own understanding. The hand writes and creates its own understanding in its heart that's crooked already. It creates its own understanding and makes it up. The word is at the back, at the tail. It means nothing to them. And they never follow the word and what it means. They follow themselves. It's self-worship, self-righteousness. It's connected to the devil. And evil is selfish. So then to be of the devil is to love self. It's all one like that. To be of the devil is to create your own gods and love self and worship self and commend self and be commended by men to self and seeking self-glory. It's all things wicked and selfish and prideful and blind. There is something else that came to mind that brings out something else that I had a question just before I started this. And I believe the Father answered it to whatever, something he gave me right now to see for an answer. Not claiming it to be the full thing or anything. Just that something's given. It's at least something was answered to a question in my mind and heart. Just right away. And this, right away, a little bit given to answer. And then maybe, we'll come back on that specific thing, maybe in a couple months. Father says, I'll come back a year later and now increase that thing later, but I'll increase something else sooner. Or how, just saying that any given understanding, some questions are asked and then some answers are given right away about one thing, but more comes later if that's his will, and that's what needs to happen. Then he gives more later of whatever we ask. But what came to mind is, what about the direction, right to left? Isn't that messed up? Isn't that going left? And left is like, left is the goats. Left is likened with all rebellion and evil. The world's going right. That's the right direction because it's going right. And this direction is left. We already, I'm speaking of how in the different way the world is backwards, because the head has nothing to do with following anyone except self, and his word is at the tail, creating its own thing, creating its own righteousness and doctrine and everything. It's never at the head, never following the word. So, it's already saying that this is the good thing then, and the backwards that the world says is normal, and that it's good, the right direction. And you could go, sloppy, quick this way, but you can't this way. It has to be steady, slower, more careful to not smear his word, which ruins it, which is no effect, which is damage, which is not living it if it's smeared. If it's smeared, especially if it's smeared like more so, and you can't read it. And what does that look like to have smeared word spiritually? You can't read or understand it, therefore can't live it. So then care is taken, steady and slow, following the head, Messiah and his word right at the head, with our hand leading to the body, which is our hand, our works, is following something constantly and not making anything up. That is the perfect thing. That is the teaching, to follow the Lamb. They never believed it. They never believed it. The works prove it. But to go back to this direction thing, the same question and problem comes up, where the world instantly says this is the right way because it's going from left to right. It's going in the direction of literally to the right. And the other one, seeing that this is the good thing, the world will say it's going left. Isn't that for the goats? That's the backwards thing. Are they sure they understand this given scripture or that given scripture? Are they sure they understand? That's the question at all times for any lie. And it all looks similar, the way lying works, some more deceptive and greater, some lesser, but it's the same similar way of how it works for evil, where someone thinks they understand and know, because it looks like something to them carnally. What if they just created their own doctrine right there? Who says that this is the right direction? Who says? Because it looks like it's going from left to right. That's what it'll be seen as, and if it looks like something, it's true then. So, and what another scripture that came to mind, the handwriting on the wall. But so what's happening here, where it looks this is right, and we're saying, that's the backwards thing. Well, going from right to left, like speaking of, like the Hebrew reading is, and going into some meaning on this specific thing. Is it going left in a negative way, bad way? Or is there an understanding to be had? And if you don't understand the actual understanding that must be given to see with our spiritual eyes and hear with spiritual ears, The only thing left is what it looks like. And that's absolutely going to the left, period. That's all that's left. And it'll be judged as evil because it goes to the left. It's coming from the right side. That's not the understanding, but that's how, those are the short words on something I see spiritually, on an understanding on how that it's not about what it looks like going into the left direction. It's always going in the right because it's always coming out of the right direction. How did that work so perfectly right now? Where, this thing, what do you call that? Where you use the same word and it explain two things at the same time. How do you know it's in the right direction? It's constantly going from the right, so then it's constantly going in the right direction. But how do we explain that it's still going left as far as it looks like it's doing that? Is the world sure that it understands that? I'm just bringing one example out here out of this thing right now specifically. So if it's always coming from the right direction, is it not always going right? That would be the spiritual understanding. And if you're always coming from the right direction, what is this way? You're coming from the left, the wrong direction. Oops. But that's not the understanding right there, because he gave me something just a little while ago to see in my mind, to see in spirit. And then the words follow that he gives me to say on what I'm seeing. This way is always coming out of the left side, and it's always coming from the left. It proves that it's already the goat thing, because it's always constantly coming from the left. It has nothing to do with what it looks like right here. Nothing. That can't prove anything by itself. And how often has that been, he's got me to say over and over and over again. But this is like such a massive example to me. It's such a good picture. It's amazing. It's better than some other ones in that it brings it out better. And we know that exists. There's lesser, there's greater, there's variance. It doesn't mean all this other examples in truth are bad. I just see there's something that stands out with this picture that brings out the same truth that's true for all these other things, but it like brings out what's happening in the heart a little bit more. I see. To me, that's what I see. And it's amazing. Looks like you're going to the right. Looks right to the world because it goes right. Says who? It's always coming from the left, though. And that's the reality. Where you come from is the reality, not what you look like. Where you come from constantly is the heart, and not what you make yourself look right. This is a delusion. This is being made as an illusion, a trickery, used as a trickery, just an image, just to look like something. This is how all evil works. It always looks right. Wow, is this stunning? This is blowing my mind. But then again, everything the Father's given me, eventually blows my mind. Evil always looks like it's going in the right direction. Always, when you write from left to right, the world's way. And then one narrow way, the Father's word, speaking more literally, but then speaking on the spiritual thing of that lower thing, is going from left to right, the backwards thing. And the world looks good, that sin looks good to people, always looking good, looking right. There's a way that seems right in man's eyes. It seems right, so it seems, because it looks like it, therefore it seems right, therefore it's believed as right by mankind in darkness. always looks that way. But the end of it leads to death, because the left direction where they're coming from, the end of that is destruction and death while they think it's right. Father's way always looks like it's going to the left, the wrong direction, to the world, constantly, as long as the word's being written and the hand is moving and the head is right at the, moving, the head is moving, the hand that passes through his word. We work based on what the word tells us at the head, how to work it, and never make up our own thing at the tail. We're to be the head. That's a spiritual head, not carnally ruling someone, sort of like Moses, like the literal thing there only, but a spiritual head, which is the spiritual leading, which is through humble and serving, which is also being a guide to the blind, so many different things we could say. It to the world now, his way always looks like it's going to the left, the wrong way. It always looks evil to the world. What's the reality? It's always coming from the right direction. It's never not coming from the right direction. It's always coming from the same right direction. If you think of the right way in this way and not what you saw, it's not that kind of right, like a right turn or a right, but instead the right direction, meaning the true one. That is the right here, that it's always coming from. We know where we come from, Messiah says. This just came to mind now. And we know where we go. They don't know where they come from or where they go, because darkness doesn't see anything. They definitely don't come from the Heavenly Father, but they don't even know where they come from. You can't see the evil way in darkness. They cannot see that they come from wickedness and are going to it. If they could see something, they would find out that this only looked right, but it's wrong. But you keep going into destruction. And that brought up the pigs that go into destruction. The direction is destruction. And it's a pathway for whatever timing the Father has for everyone, But along the path, time passes. At the end of that path, whatever the end is for someone, it's destruction. That's the left, that's the wide gateway, the wrong way, from the left, from the wrong, left, representing wrong, goat, devil, worldly, dark, can't see where you come from. But the light, because it's light, in the open in the day, we see where we come from, that it's from the Father, from the right direction constantly. I know I've repeated a lot, but it's just amazing to me. If we use the word brainwash, I would like to brainwash someone, for truth. What's wrong with that? Just let's pretend that's what happens, that it's being done. How is that evil? If you because now the brainwashing is not seen as evil through evil. It's seen as good through good, leading to good, becoming good. But then that same word, to be seen by darkness, is darkness, coming from darkness, going into destruction and darkness constantly. So then this this brainwashing, is that the word I used? Brainwashing or phrase? Yeah, I think so. So then this, this brainwashing is seen as evil, but to someone that's not being given what it looks like for good, to do good, to see the knowledge, to do the works, to see it, when they hear brainwashing, it's always evil. It's always connected to evil. If they see someone doing something that looks like a little bit to them that they're brainwashing someone, it will be assumed as evil when there is a good way. But when the good thing is done, the intention of the heart isn't to brainwash at all in the same way it is through evil. Instead of wanting someone's hurt and destruction, you want their good. It's just the opposite now with everything, but it does need to be given and seen. And that's what was on my mind, a couple things, and then now just speaking on what he's given me that I did not know what I would speak or how, but just a few words in the beginning, some thoughts, and then just go from there, because the Father just gives to see and answers questions, at the proper time when he does. We just ask and wait for all things, waiting, not acting hastily, but going the Father's way. You have to be steady and careful not to smear his word. You have to have an actual care. And when you can smear his word, in reality, when we're not in delusion, it's possible to do that. So then with actual care, you're going to be careful not to smear his word, because we could see that, through good, that this can be done, and then that's no good, that's evil. You could see that it could be done, something wrong. Coming from darkness this way, the backwards direction, there's nothing to smear like it is the other way. In someone's mind in darkness, there is nothing to screw up when it's already coming from evil. There's nothing to see that's evil, because the whole direction is coming from evil, and it's dark, and there's nothing to see because it's dark. There's nothing to love and care when we are the God in our own mind doing whatever we want in a delusion. There is nothing to see, like, I better have to be careful. Wow, I could hurt someone. I could lie, destroy someone. I could hurt them. I could smear his word and turn things into a lie and make it no effect, or cause strife and all, whatever it is. There's nothing to see. There's no worry or care coming from the left, the darkness, on doing any of those things, because that's only seen from the light and having some of these things already given by the Father. When they're not there, there's nothing to actually care about or see that's evil, because the whole direction is evil constantly. Every thought and intent of the heart is only evil continually. Genesis of man. Every thought and intent or intention of the heart is only, nothing else, evil continually, and it never stops. Can't stop, won't stop. That's what we hear in this world. Cannot stop. That's the judgment. Literally cannot. It's as literal as it gets spiritually. Literally can't stop. Like being possessed for the evil thing. And whatever is seen, I know it's amazing that the Father gives. Whatever actual truth is that he gives, it's amazing. But if someone's not seeing, some of these things right here specifically, maybe not yet, or maybe just very little, it won't be see how it won't be as amazing. But we learn more about it, see more about it, then it's like, okay, now it's becoming more amazing, because you see more. It's connected to everything in reality, all things. That's so much being said and taught just from one thing, one thought. Why go from right to left for the Hebrew reading and writing like that? And out of it comes like massive truth. Then again, it's just how all things are connected, spiritual. And like, no matter what, you can like simplify and go back to a simple thing, no matter where you are on the tree. But then you could do the opposite. You can come from the root and branch out in any direction you want because it's all connected. You could do the opposite thing and go back to the root. Oh, isn't that interesting? Now that just hit me. Genealogy in Luke for Messiah coming from the line, literally line of Judah and the different peoples. Isn't it 14? What is that? 14 now on my mind, because the last video I did, what I saw, the total length of the numbers for timestamp added to 14. And the verses that I came across that I pasted on there, and that's what I pasted after the video. I had this want to check something and I added up the numbers, and it's 14 also, just like the total length of my last video. The numbers of the verses copied down, added together individually was 14, and then the numbers on the total length of the video was 14, and the two 14s, the numbers match. And it's from the book of Numbers that it was quoted that I did. Stunning. And I think I read 14 generations with, isn't it in Luke and the other in Matthew? Is it 14? I need to see more about what that is specifically with 14, I suppose. But it's connected to where Messiah comes from, so something may be to do with that, the connection with the literal number, 14 and what it means. But it's 2 times in all of the New Testament writing, 2 times, Matthew and Luke, right, I believe. Matthew is like one direction and Luke goes the other direction. That's what came to mind about the tree, and you could go both ways. It doesn't matter when it's truth and spiritual things from above. It doesn't matter which direction it is, which sounds contradicting and out of order to the carnal man because he doesn't understand what that real order is. An order to the carnal man is one literal direction like that. That's how it is, and all in this literal order. When he sees that out of order carnally, that's out of order to him, when that's not the heavenly heart meaning for order. Therefore, revelation is like purposely by our Father, not in this literal kind of order. It goes back and forth. His whole word does that. Has anybody noticed? Talking about one thing, it looks like it goes forward, and we're reading, and still the same book, Isaiah, and then it goes back and it goes forward and then back on forward, back and forward, because the direction doesn't matter spiritually. Spiritual order is not literal order in the same way, but the real order, it doesn't matter where you come from or where you go concerning the root to the branches or branches to the root, because it's all perfectly one and connected, and nothing is condemning or shooting itself in the foot. Lies covering lies, none of that's happening in the Father's truth. That's why it can be done. With lies, it cannot be done, because all of it's attacking itself and pushing itself out. Never doing this, but instead it's doing this. What does that look like? From in out. It's an explosion to try to put the world together and say all these different evils and judgments and divisions in this world together as one, like the true way is one, is to cause an explosion and destruction utterly. Spiritually, this is true, but even literally as judgment, as destruction for all the nations, the wickedness of the beastly kingdoms. Amazing. So then the Father's truth is always one, the true one. And so that's why, it doesn't matter where you go left or right, up and down, because it's all literally connected in the good way, the true way, with no lies, trickery, hiding, masquerading. And it's all closed together and tightly knit as one thing. But the evil tree, is one that it's darkness, but this oneness is the backward spiritual thing. It all does this against each other and goes this way and that way forever. Everything against itself forever. One thing goes one direction and the other goes in another, and they go away from each other forever, literally. As far as the east is from the west, they go in a different direction forever. Oh, that goes back to the question there, to connect something. So when we're coming from the right, always from the Father's right way, we're always going the right way. But how do you explain what looks like you're going the wrong way, left? It's chasing the wrong way away from it, left. It's chasing it. It's fleeing, just like the darkness flees from the light. It's just like the sun going around the stationary creation of the Father's creation that's not a spinning, stupid globe. And we read the east from the west because there's something literally true about it, but there's a spiritual meaning on it, the heavenly meaning of east and west. If you go west, true west, whatever west is, just saying whatever west is, if you go that direction, you are going away from east forever, and it's actually chasing it. You never catch up. It's in the, that's how you show like an eternal different direction with a circle. But if you turn around and go the other way, that it flips. Now this thing is chasing that thing. One is going in this direction, the other is going away from it constantly. So then going from the right to left, writing, coming from the Father's right way constantly. The left way that's in front of it is going away from it constantly. You can never catch up. That's how you see it forever goes. Because it's always chasing. If you go around in a circle, the left is being, moved out, and it can never catch up to the right way forever. That's how it's seen in a circle, though. Circle of life. Which just bring out something more about the serpent's eating its own tail, which is the circle of death. It's backwards. That west catches up with the east. It's actually fighting itself. And then there's no more circle when you eat yourself up all the way. It destroys the circle. The circle, the Father's way, is always doing this. Boom. Boom. It's always creating a circle. The devil's way and everything that's backwards. You start like this, let's say. This is the east, this is the west. This is the snake's head, this is the tail. East, west, snake head, snake tail. The devil's way eats itself until it destroys itself and disappears, and there is no circle of life. It was the circle of death. Boom, it's gone. That's what mankind's going to be. Boom, it's gone. Where is he? He pursues the wickedness till there is none. Where's the wicked? Where will you find them? And this is how I'm seeing this big thing on how it's not standing now, and it's not going to stand. Who can stand? In Revelation we read, now and to come. Who knows that don't? Fallen now. And the other fall and destruction is to come, to finish it. Cutting the work short in righteousness. We read that. Cutting it short. You cut something short, you cut it a little bit, it's a little shorter. Cut a few days to shorten the days. The days shall be shortened for the elect's sake. At the end, speaking of the actual prophecy of the end here, distinguishing, dividing, right? Days were lengthened first. And he shows how he's able to add and take away and add again. He shows how he's able to give life and take away life and then give it back. He shows that he's able to have it not cursed, then have it cursed, and then bring it back to cursed or not cursed. He's able to do all these things. So then Mount Ararat is that mountain that Noah's Ark went down on. That name means curse reversed. And he's able to, from the beginning, not have this fear with the creatures, with the creation of its own self, afraid of. Weird. That's the curse. Yeah, that's the death. That all creation is cursed in this way, mankind and all creation. Then he puts the fear in the animals and things. But then when they get gathered in the ark, he takes away the fear so that the beast can come in, which is mankind, and receive not to be afraid of the Father in the spiritually cowardly, fearful kind of way. That's the higher understanding, the spiritual, cowardly, fearful understanding of this bad fear. But then he shows that, he took it away and then he put the fear back afterwards, but then he'll take it away again. But then the cycle of life and death eventually ends, and the Father's truth, love, and good will win out in the end for all creation. But he's added, he's taken away, he's added and taken away, and he's going to do it again. And we read something about doing it again. It's that understanding of doing it once more. The heavens will shake. We'll shake it once more, not just the earth, the heavens will be shaken. Whatever stands, stands. Whatever doesn't will fall. And he's able to do what man cannot believe with his heart, something powerful, because it's the reality we live in is the only one someone apart from him can believe. Can't believe that in power and miracles at all. And it takes actual belief that he can reverse the curse. But he's shown us his teachings that he's done this already. He's able to do it again. He's going to reverse the curse of this very creation. And the reason why man will stop learning a war for killing, murdering, is because it will no longer be the beastly kingdoms. He's going to take over the reign with the saints, with the kingdom. And the beastly reign of these kingdoms of the world will finally be over, and it will be proven. And it's already proven for anyone that can see over all the years. Man was never able to do good and do the Father's actual way, and even literally bring peace on earth, goodwill towards men. Never able to never did it, do it. When he starts claiming he's going to do that for the world, it's going to explode. All hell's breaking loose for a literal tribulation at the end too, of course, but that's not our definition of tribulation. Spiritual tribulation is true for every believer because it's within for any generation till the end. But the snake eating its tail keeps destroying itself until the wickedness, the snake, dies and it's no more. That's how he'll pursue wickedness till there is none. He's doing that for a few right now in every generation. The first fruits are coming to life now, and the wickedness in them is being destroyed now over time in our life. And so then we won't have to taste the second death. That's part of the reward. Look, you don't have to go through this difficult thing again. Second death. Dying to who and what we are, to the serpent, to the carnal man, to the devil himself, which is to be seen as mankind himself, to see and learn what on earth sin is that he does constantly. That will die. Death and Hades, death and hell, which is the word which is the word the grave. Sheol, the grave, the unseen, but we read Hades there. Death and the grave. Or, we'll take the Christian hell in there too. Death and Christian hell will be thrown in the lake of fire and destroyed, meaning there won't be death anymore. But the very last enemy to be destroyed is death. When we read that, the apostle saying that, he's quoting scripture. He's quoting scripture. It was always in his word. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. That's the last thing. All death. Anything that's death, spiritual and physical, both. We read that there, and then it's a connection to something in Revelation there specifically, where death and the grave is thrown into the lake of fire. That these are those words, that picture there, that truth, and what this is, what it'll end up being. Those are those words there in Revelation. The last enemies starting to be destroyed and cast into the lake of fire. The grave, which is death, symbolizing death. Obviously, every grave is connected to death for the natural picture. Therefore, grave is death, one with death, connected to death, the grave. The grave and death will be cast into the lake of fire, which will destroy anything that's wicked and purify and leave behind only something good and valuable. But destroys the wicked, though. Destroys the contaminants, just like the natural thing does, with fire and lots of heat for precious metals and gold and things, purify it. And it leaves it pure and valuable and good only, without specks. That's the perfect thing. Pretty amazing. That's the restoration of all things that all the prophets spoke of from the beginning of creation. It's in his word everywhere. Just because the church world in this world is blind doesn't automatically mean that it's not exactly what we read, that the prophets, by the Spirit, led by the Father, spoke of the restoration of all things since the foundation of the world, since the beginning. It's in every book, in his word somewhere. I think that's it now with the what came to mind, which was writing from right to left, amazingly, so huge. And why, and that it always looks like it's wrong to the world because it looks like it. But the looks is not what matters, is not the higher thing. It's no good at all unless the real thing's being done. And I guess maybe one more time, if you're going right to left, you're coming from the right direction, always the right, chasing the left direction in a circle. And it's as far as the east is from the west, and never can catch up. And the other can never catch up to the other one. So it's in the opposite direction always. Forever. And that's it. I think that's all I have in my mind right now. Connected to so many things. And the worldly way, coming from the left, the wrong direction, always going left, because wherever you come from, that's where you're really going. Does it look like you're going left this way? It looks like it's going right. It doesn't matter what it looks like, because that doesn't prove anything by itself. It's coming from the left. And in reality, when you come from the left, you're always going in the direction of left, even though it looks like you're going right. And the Father's way is coming from the right, always coming from that right. And if you come from the right, you always stay in the same direction. You're always going the right way. Wherever you come from, that's where you're going. When you keep going in a straight, narrow line, never turn around, and it chases the wrong direction away from it. It's forever separated. If you turn around, then it flips over, and the other one chases it. That's the circle of life or circle of death that eats itself. Man destroys himself by doing evil because of our Father's judgment. Someone murders someone with their heart, he sends devils to come and murder them so that they're filled up with wrath, confusion, and anxiety and wickedness. And people wonder why they're not doing good, because they do an enormous amount of evil that they have no clue that they're doing and acknowledging. The heart is constantly doing wickedness. He's pretty good. Look at how many things people get carnally that are doing massive wickedness constantly, and he still gives them a family, still gives them, so many people lots of worldly riches, all the things that they could want of the world. That's all given. It's all allowed to have by the Creator. He gives it. He allows them to have it. Some more, some less. Some at the top, some at the bottom, and everything in between. And it's never accepted like that. So then it's never thankful in reality, just because someone says they're thankful. If they got works that continually prove they're not, what they said doesn't mean anything, even if it sounds and looks right. You could say, I'm thankful. Yeah, if it's a lie, it's not real thankfulness, though. But it looks like it because someone said it. Just like this looks like you're going right. Yeah, what if it's a lie? It could be going the right direction, but the point is that what it looks like can't prove anything by itself. Looks like it's going right, but what if it's coming from the left and always going left then, if it comes from the left? What it looks like didn't prove anything, see? Okay, that's all I have right now. Well, hopefully the Father, adds the increase to these things for anybody in Messiah that believes. Something gets seen, something added, something more that helps us to understand more and do more good works, to do the Creator's will better, more. And that's it. Peace, take care, seek truth from above.